Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has revealed just how severe the stakes are in Canada's fight with President Donald Trump.
A new survey.
Ladies and gentlemen, looks like we are now in the end game.
Survey from Nanos Research for CTV News shows Mark Carney is the top pick to deal with U.S. President Donald Trump.
Survey shows
That's
2
an
in
interesting
5
one.
Canadians, or 40%, feel former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney would do the best job negotiating with Trump. 26% feel Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre would be better, while 13% favored Liberal leadership candidate Chrystia Freeland, and just 1% Karina Gould. Question.
That's an interesting one. So you're telling me that the majority of Canadians, well, 40%, whatever majority that is, 40% of Canadians want Mark Carney and 26 want Pierre Poilievre. That's interesting. Sounds like the Conservatives are getting their job cut out for them, assuming the polls are correct, of course, because they've been known to be played with a little bit in some cases. Maybe not this case, definitely not this case, but they're not adding up.
Now, will Trump become the ballot box issue for the next general election?
Well, I think he already is the ballot box issue. I don't think at this point that's the tax is really going to matter if Trump is on the other side, because the man knows how to eat a media cycle. So yeah, they're going to have to pivot definitely. Poilievre seems to be struggling a little bit because he's been doing Axe the Tax for so long, but I guess we're going to see what he comes up with this week, it seems like. This is the part that I found interesting, right? You say 40% of Canadians want Mark Carney, 26% want Pierre Poilievre, of course, Chrystia Freeland, and Karina Gould are basically non-consequential right now, but with all the recent polls actually showing a strong Conservative lead in terms of a national elections, yes, it is shrinking. That comes off as a little bit of an outlier to have Mark Carney as the top negotiator, in my opinion. It could just be a case of they see him as the more serious one. But I digress. Let's go on with this.
You couldn't go anywhere but up if you were the Liberals. And once he left, that's exactly what we saw. Liberals always tend to go up when they don't have a leader as well in polls. Just get to put what you feel the leader could be, and you're not looking at any possible negatives because you don't know who the leader is.
You actually do make a point there. Mark Carney is still really an unknown right now. Yes, he's doing a little bit more in terms of media cycles. One little problem is he seems to be doing a lot of them in the US more than in Canada. However, nobody really has had a chance to test him, so to speak. And so it could be that definitely a lot of people seeing that he's a former bank governor, he might be the more serious one or the more experienced one, so to speak, as over Poilievre to speak to Trump and negotiate something for Canada. But it'd definitely be interesting to see how that evolves as the days go by. One thing I would say, Poilievre has his work cut out for him because it looks like polls are swinging Carney way.
Trump has it in mind that one of the easiest ways of doing that is absorbing our country. And it is a real thing. In my conversation with him on
I suggest that not only does the Trump administration know how many critical minerals we have, but that may be even why they keep talking about absorbing us and making us the 51st state, he told the room. They're very aware of our resources, of what we have, and they very much want to be able to benefit from those.
You know, one thing I've kind of thought is a lot of people tend to kind of underestimate Trump in the sense that he goes out and says the most outlandish thing. And I'm not entirely sure he's an idiot or completely unaware of what he's trying to accomplish, because speaking of Canada joining the United States, it makes you wonder what he's really after, because it clearly, I don't think it is really about illegal immigrants and drugs crossing into the US from Canada. I think he's got something much bigger, the so-called end game, considering that, of course, in his interview, he would go on to confirm this. It looks like Trudeau also actually knows the truth. And so the question, of course, would be, what didn't you tell us? What is exactly going on behind the scenes that we do not know? That's definitely a good question because there's something going on, and I don't think we're being told everything. We're being led to think that this is simply just about borders and fentanyl. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. And I think the real truth is Trump wants to eat up Canada. He wants to eat our lunch, eat it all.
Announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico. You immediately got action from both of them on border security and drug interdiction.
I did. A lot of
Is
action
that good
that nobody
enough?
expected.
Is that
No,
good
it's-
enough?
No, it's not good enough.
So more needed in 30 days.
Something has to happen. It's not sustainable. And I'm changing.
And that's my point, right? He gives a 30-day reprieve, so to speak. So much for that, in my opinion. But it looks like he's not happy. So I don't think the negotiations are necessarily going how we think they're going in the back end, because I don't think he's really after the border and dealing with fentanyl, at least not from Canada. From Mexico, maybe, but even then, I think he probably wants to eat them up too and make North America just the United States. The drugs and the illegal immigration, he's using it as a pretext to actually get his final goal.
Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was at a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be.
Right there, he just said it. Yeah, it is. He really is set on that 51st state thing. As outlandish as it might be, he seems to think he's got a shot at it. So he's going to go about it, create as much chaos as he wants, as he thinks he needs. Maybe negotiate some kind of economic combination of the two countries.
Much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why are we paying $200 billion a year essentially in subsidy to Canada? Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it.
We're making our country larger. We're making our country stronger. And in the case of Canada, if this should happen, I don't know how they can do it without us, because without the U.S., Canada really doesn't have a country. Everybody, steel.
Including Canada and Mexico?
Yeah, any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about
Damn. So all that celebration that Trudeau and company were doing about getting a 30-day reprieve to demonstrate that they are serious about the border and fentanyl is down the hole. It is useless because that is not what he's after. And it looks like even Danielle Smith, really, unless she knows something we don't know. The idea that she thinks we can demonstrate a border, I don't think she's on the right side of this too, because I think everybody is focusing on the border. Yet the man is literally saying in every possible way and chance he gets that he wants the whole country. Clearly, there ain't no 30. The 30-day reprieve is about as useful as wiping your behind because it's useless.
Aluminum too.
I think my belief is very strongly and has been, I've articulated this many times in my posts and my discussions with people, that I do believe that objective of Donald Trump is to take over our resources.
If you are
Absolutely. The man is after the whole country. I mean, like it or not, Canada has a vast amount of resources, and for whatever reason, it seems like we have not exactly developed everything to the fullest extent. We don't have industries in our country that refine oil or refine what they call it, essential minerals. All of that just gets shipped as raw material out of the country, either to Asia or the US or wherever else where it gets refined. We don't have a very developed natural resource industry in as much as we like to think. We simply know how to extract it. I think the US has realized that. At the very least, Trump has realized that, hey, if I take it over, I've got the industry to refine it. Suddenly, I don't need the rest of the world. And so I think that's what he's going for. He is going gang-ho to take over Canada so that he has access to the natural resources and he doesn't have to worry so much about what the rest of the world is doing if he's able to do that. Well said, Arlene. I definitely would agree with you that that's what's going on. I think he is after Canada's natural resources, and our politicians would be silly to think that he's after anything else. Now, just taking a spin back from that, let's look a little bit into Mark Carney and what is going on with him.
Living through an affordability crisis, if you are living through I cannot afford my life, do you trust a central banker to make this decision for you?
Lady, I really don't think right now, like, it is a problem. It is a problem. Absolutely. Affordability is an issue, but I don't think that many people are thinking central bank or affordability issues right now, in as much as they might want to. Right now, everybody's kind of thinking Donald Trump wants to take over the country, which suggests to some extent that the liberals have actually succeeded in adjusting and making sure that Trump stays as the ballot question, which is why Poilievre is in trouble unless he finds out some way of reframing that conversation, or some way of taking over the media cycle, because right now he is not winning that media cycle. Carney is, the liberals are, and they've managed to create a bigger boogeyman in Trump than Axe the Tax. So we need a new slogan, whatever that is.
I was at an event this week and I heard Carney.
Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a ramble, but just bear with it, and you're going to go all the way to the end, and it is a perfect way to end this conversation, and definitely one that makes it clear in some cases.
Speak, and he referenced Nova Scotia, very close to Fred and I, and he talked about being in two different rooms, and that the difference that he's seeing is that rooms that a couple of months ago would have been filled with anger are now very quiet, and people are very, very worried. And again, this was on the weekend before we got our 30-day stay with Trump. I even saw that I was on a rural highway here on Sunday. I stopped in a gift and food store that I know, and the co-owner was there, and she was able to tell me right away how much in her store was from the U.S., and that was going to be it for a while. So in terms of awareness, I think I saw a poll this week. This was the news story that Canadians were most engaged with since the pandemic. So this is a big moment, and I think this is why, to Mel's point about, it's a time for serious people.
So this Carney event was here in Ottawa?
This, no. The one that I was at was here in Ottawa. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
But I was
Is he going to do any national Canadian interviews while he's in the capital city? Because CNN and BBC have had their chance. Any idea? Do the Liberals know if they're candidates?
I knew you were going to do this, David.
I
can list all the places. But you know what? You know how I feel in this. I would like him to be here because I think he'd be good.
I'm just raising it to
but
be
if he needed to be here, needed to be here, he would be here.
Sir, you are sounding like literally a Carney plant at this point. There's no way you are not a Carney plant, because you just sound like it. All you're doing is defending him. I mean, the man has really not done the good, long, sit-down Canadian interview, or multiple. Yes, he's done a couple of public speeches, but he hasn't really sat down with somebody who has some good questions. I'd love to see him sit with Rosemary Barton when she was having a good day. Definitely when she was willing to follow up on some tough questions. That would be an interesting one to see how exactly he would handle that. But he's got a point. The man has basically done more American interviews than Canadian, and to some extent, I guess, is the point of all this. He seems to know something we don't know, because I think he figures I better start appealing to the Americans, because we're going to be part of them soon enough. Because I find it very hard to believe that he's not doing it, of course, strategically, but I think he knows something we don't know. Is it because he knows that we're basically going to be absorbed? Maybe. And he's just angling to be the first governor of Canada, a state of the United States of America. I mean, he was a Bank of Canada governor, so he knows how to be a governor. Not a prime minister anyways, but that's just my opinion.
No, when he does it, it's strategic, the Liberals tell me, but when Poilievre does it, it's offensive, apparently. Right. I mean, give me a break, right? Like, what do we, anyway, this is my little issue, but.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end it on that. If you like that at all, please remember to like, subscribe, and share for more content. Thank you very much.